it's about time for our panel discussion in this hall on operations to innovation value revolution at GCC. And I would like to invite the moderator of the panel on stage, Ms. Shalini Pillay, Partner and India Leader, GCC KPMG. Ms. Shalini, can we please give a huge round of applause and welcome and show that we have had lunch? Yes, thank you. And joining her, may I please invite the panelists, Mr. Jaideep Agarwal, Indian Global Business Services Leader, Warner Brothers Discovery. He's a seasoned professional with experience in creating, scaling, and transforming large business services at Warner Brothers. He's responsible for setting up GBS Center in Hyderabad. Jaideep has experience across multiple industries, including technology and professional services, BFS, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. He has been a speaker at various forums, including Dreamforce, NASSCOM, and various industry bodies. I have had lunch. Make me feel that you've had lunch too in your claps. Thank you. Sorry? Who, me? Everybody, oh, did you overeat? Okay, joining them is our next panelist, Mr. Mahesh Iyer, Head Global Biometrics and Data Sciences, Bristol Mayor Squibb, India. Give him a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. He comes with over 25 years of experience in research and development in healthcare. Previously, Mahesh has worked with Pfizer, Novartis, and co-founded Cineflex Solutions, LLP. And currently, he teaches at many Indian universities. He's also past president of Indian Association for Statistics in Clinical Trials and for International Indian Statistical Association, India chapter. He was recently featured in the top 100 AI leaders in India. Thank you. And I would now like to invite Mr. Ranga Pothula, MD, India Subcontinent and SVP Global Delivery Infor. Let's give it up for Mr. Ranga. He drives end-to-end services to global customers from India, Philippines, Poland, Egypt, Tunisia, and Latin. He is responsible to support the R&D and support teams to drive some of the core innovations of Infor, and he has been the past president of HYSEA and has been awarded for his outstanding contribution to green IT by state of Telangana. Our last panelist for this session is Ms. Sheenam Ohrie, MD, Broadridge Financial Solutions, India. Thank you. She is leading India Centers of Excellence across technology, innovation, professional consulting, and managed services and operations. Previously, she was the VP of Dell Digital Services and an APJ CIO leader at Dell Technologies. She has led strategic business and technology roles at Finacle, Oracle, SAP. She is an ICF certified ACC and PCC executive coach and a certified lean and design thinking coach. Over to you.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to all of you. Firstly, a big thank you for coming back after that wonderful meal that HYSEA put out for us. Appreciate the audience coming back in here. Thank you, HYSEA, for having us here, and we're looking forward to an engaging discussion today. Sheenam, we have these three gentlemen really cornered between us.
Absolutely. Sandwiched.
Yeah, sandwiched.
They can't run away anywhere.
Yes. All right. So before we get started, ours is an interesting subject, one that's been doing the rounds. I would say almost running the risk of being a little cliched as one talks of GCCs taking advantage of not just cost arbitrage, but value arbitrage. The term itself speaks of getting redefined from GCCs to GVCs, which is Global Capability Centers to Global Value Centers. So value has been an underpinning theme that we've been hearing do the rounds for a long time. And yet, there is a lot of talk around it. I mean, this is an industry that's not new. Many of you who represent it here today, it's been around for 25 years plus. In different forms, it got christened when the IT-enabled sector was kind of coming together, and it has seen evolution like no other. In fact, the last 5 years, I think COVID was the tipping point when the world around us saw the opportunity to embrace technology, to accelerate the pace of tech adoption. The world realized that you could work remotely. And that gave the GCC model a huge fillip. Since then, there has been no stopping in terms of what we've seen on the Indian landscape. One new GCC being set up every 10 days, that's no exaggeration. More interestingly, it's the model that it has brought in its fold. It's no longer about global organizations coming here to actually enable their global environment, their global business by themselves. It's a hybrid ecosystem. Sitting here today under this roof, we have GCCs, we have IT service providers, we have startups, and all of them come together to make this model even more compelling and effective. Without spending any more time, what we're going to delve into is that evolution and what has it meant as GCCs have moved from delivery operation centers to capability hubs, to transformation hubs, finding new ways to unlock value for their parent organization. You all are lucky to have a panel like this. Today I'm joined by panelists that represent 4 very different industry segments. We have BFSI, we have hardcore technology, we have the pharmaceutical life sciences, and we have media and entertainment. And yet what pulls us all together is GCC, which has a quasi-industry status of its own. It's the model that brings us all together. So as I open up to this panel, and they're going to give us examples from their industries, from their GCCs, which I'm sure you're looking forward to hear more of. Let's get started. And Sheenam, maybe I'll start with you. And this is going to be a question for all of you. This much spoken of value piece, as we talk of operations to innovation and value being at the core, what does value mean for you, for your organization, for your GCC? Let's demystify this word a little bit for all those listening.
Thank you, Shalini, and always a pleasure to be back in Bangalore from Namma Bangalore. In Hyderabad from Namma Bangalore.
That's a Bangalorean speaking, pardon.
Absolutely. We've been around for 28 years, so we've really a long-standing association with the country from our parent perspective, right? Broadridge itself has transformed and it's its 4th journey of evolution. Today, Broadridge wants to be known as a modern technology platform company, which is trusted and transformative both at the same time, right? So for us at India, we are actually at the next S curve, where we are trying to say we want to materially transform India to be a widely accessible capability center for Broadridge that is essential to drive all of Broadridge's goals. Broadridge globally is about 15,000 associates. We have 5,200 here today. And that by itself is a significant value proposition, right? If you don't drive value, then how does that work for the larger organization? 1/3 of the organization sits here. So we have 4 levers really, okay? Talent, transformation, tie-ups, and trade. We want to see how we can develop and groom the best possible talent that's available globally. We want to focus on the talent. We want to see how we can transform, leveraging technology, so making engineering better, but really operations better, investing a lot in product management. We want to see how we can improve our industry connects, forums like this, startups, academia, really powerful tie-ups that we can leverage in the country. And the last lever for us is trade, where we want to see our own customers are here in the space of GCCs. You met Manish. Manish is one of our customers. And we want to create a zero distance with our customers by developing a real account management function here, not so much to sell, but to ensure that they are supported in the time zone that they live in, right? So that's really our 4 pillars of transformation right now and creating value.
That's super. And clearly, like you said, with the shift in the headcount that the GCCs represent, it's just a matter of time before you're going to make impact on all those 4 pillars.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Ranga, your thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon. Post-lunch. One of the key challenges for a post-lunch is how do we can create value to you guys. We want We want everybody to be active. And end of this session, we thought that we go happily that we created some value of learning between us. That's the whole thing. So personally, I see that there's a lot of things we are doing as a part of the Infor organization. We are the very old in Hyderabad, I can say that, 2.5 decades old organization. We are the first few MNCs started operations in Hyderabad in the name of BAN. BAN is that ERP company, which is a Dutch company, started operations here in 1995. So we were existing from that point of time. And tremendous amount of growth happened from that time to now what we have done in terms of scale, in terms of capacity and capability, in terms of innovations, what we are creating. We'll talk more on that. But I think the important thing for the GCCs is how, I think one of the key point in this, Shalini will come back to us, I think how exactly we need to kind of prepare ourselves, how exactly we can give the message to the other GCCs who are setting up now, how they can also kind of take over in terms of not just a kind of a scale providers, but also value providers. That's exactly what we are. So we are part of Infor. Today I'm called as Infor. Infor is the largest ERP solution provider, micro-verticalized industry solution provider. So we are part of Coke Industries. Coke is the largest privately held company in the world, $130 billion company. So that also gives us a long-term creating customer value to our customers, because Coke believes in a principle-based management in terms of not looking at short-term but also look long-term. What kind of value we can create to the customers. So with that, so there's a lot of things I would like to kind of bring in my journey of GCC, what all the experience I have, and some of the things I can share with the team.
So I'm taking away value that you're creating for customers as your definition of value in a big way, really. And I do want to emphasize on definition of value for this first round, because there's a lot that gets spoken and it gets, one flits on the surface without defining it. You know, what does value mean? And hence, for you, yes, value and what impact you're making for your customers. But would love to hear it, Mahesh, to you, little more granularity maybe also.
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. I represent BMS here today. BMS is very new in the pharma life sciences space to Hyderabad. We started just about 18 months ago. We are about a 2,000-person shop now, but we have two major groups, IT and the development function. And of course, pharma life sciences has been here forever. Novartis has been one of the shining examples of having been here for 17, 18 years. Now, when you think about value, and I'm going to talk about general for the pharma space, right? You almost think of it as a triangle of, like the magic triangle, right? On one hand, you could think about success as, value as how do I improve my chances of succeeding at a clinical trial and bringing a new drug to the market. So that's one aspect, right? The second aspect of value is cost. So no matter how much ever we want to run away from that, it is an important aspect, especially now in this day and age. Cost is a huge factor in terms of developing, right? Most of you must have heard these numbers of $1 trillion that it costs to bring a new drug to the market. And so cost is a huge lever, right? And the third sort of triangular, the third side of the triangle is speed, right? Today, most new drugs take about 11 years to come to the market, right? And every company is saying, can I make that 11, 10? Can I make that 9? Can I make that 7, right? So you're really looking at speed as a third sort of side of the triangle. And when you think about value for most pharma companies today, cost was one where the GCCs were set up because, it helped quite a bit. Now it's moving a little bit more towards the speed side of things, right? Yeah. But when you think about speed, what are the big ticket items? We all love to talk about Gen AI and LLMs and stuff, right? Their space, their work, their influence on speed is marginal, right? Because something that you could take maybe 3 months to do, you can do in a month or in a week, right? That's great. But that's not really what we're talking about. That's not going to take us, move years, right? Here we're talking about science, like, how can we discover drugs faster? Recruitment, how can we enroll patients faster and so on, right? And that's the biggest part of value today that a lot of the pharma life sciences companies are looking for. And one reason why they are looking to India is the talent sort of that's available. It's not ready-made at all. For all that we like to talk about is India being a huge talent hub. It's not readily available, but the basic stuff is there, and then we can build on that. And that's one of the major value parameters that we're looking at.
Oh, super. In fact, I was listening to the Honorable Doctor speak earlier, and he gave us lots of examples of AI and its impact in the life sciences. You're a clear example of that, and I know that the life sciences GCC space, I would say, only getting started compared to the BFSI players, and there's a long way to go. Lots more to happen, and what technology is going to do that. And as you spoke of speed, and we speak so much of Gen AI, what DeepSeek is going to do and more coming there, time will tell, right? That speed's only getting crunched even further. But thank you. Thanks for that, Mahesh. Coming to you, Jaideep, very exciting world of yours. Tell us a little more about the glamorous world of media entertainment. How do you all look at value?
Sure. Hi. I represent Warner Brothers Discovery here. Some of the iconic brands, I'm pretty sure we all have grown up watching Friends, Big Bang Theory, Justice League, etc. and all. So what business are we in? While the industry is media and entertainment, we are in the business of storytelling. We tell stories. How do we tell stories? We create content, and we distribute that content either through theaters or through network channels or through streaming platforms, right? So fundamentally, the way, if we were to look at the value stream, the key for us is how can we enable better stories to be told to every single person on the planet. I mean, that's the way we see how we will be able to add value. I would say 3 key levers in terms of us as a GCC. So again, like him, as he said, we're just about 18 months old in the Hyderabad ecosystem. Obviously, we don't have the luxury of 20 plus years to get to the same level of maturity curve, what others have had, the time to do. For us, max is probably going to be about 5 years to get to the same level of maturity what others have been doing this. So 3 key levers is what I would say is, one is the people. People, not just about the talent within the organization, but remember, we engage with a lot of talent to create content, essentially. So the people who are acting in our movies and all that. So it's about talent. Second is about the content which we create. How are we creating a content which resonates with each and every single individual? Because everybody wants to see something else. So it's about, and that content is going to clearly help us straight get to the revenue as well as to the bottom line. And third, we are a media tech company, if you were to think of it, because the world is shifting. What started as a basic, I would say, physical, paper-based thing to networks, and now is shifting pretty much to streaming platforms. I think we are part of a industry where one part of our business is declining absolutely rapidly. If I was to take a quick poll in this, how many of you still have a TV channel subscription at home, a Tata Sky or any of those at home, right? Very few, handful, 8, 10. How many of you have a streaming platform at home? And pretty much everybody. So that's telling the story, or the dilemma or the dichotomy which we are facing is, on one side we have a declining business, and on the other side is this excitement of being able to be a part of the new gen. And how can we add value is across all the 3 streams, across people, across content, and across the platform or the media tech which we are. So that's the way I would like to describe ourselves.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And for those of you listening in, actually, I could actually position all these 4 organizations and what they've set up in India as tech companies. Would I be wrong if I said that? I mean, you represent an industry, but what's driving you and what's a common lever is the technology. Would that be fair?
Not so much. I think so. For life sciences, it's a
Maybe
bit of
a little
50-50.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. We have half of it is tech.
Got
the
it,
other half is science.
Yeah.
And
But it's enabled by technology.
Yes, it is enabled by
Everything is.
We just heard the doctor speak.
That's true.
They set
What-
up an AI center in a hospital.
What we provide, Shalini, is we provide micro-verticalized
Yeah.
industry solutions
Yeah.
on the cloud for industries like automotive industries, aerospace and defense,
Yeah.
like process industries, food and beverage industries, supply chain, all that. So we provide a complete solutions for the customers to innovate in the cloud.
Yeah.
We provide a platform so that customers can also continuously innovate, take care of, manage and adapt themselves quickly so that they can take care of the business. This is exactly what we do.
Got it. In fact, I'm going to jump to another question that again, and all my questions, I thought there's no point trying to address them to any one person because you all come with very different perspectives. So this one again will go out to all of you. And one thing that Jaideep, you said, and I did have a slightly different view to say just because you're young in the game, you're not any lower in terms of maturity. Because the one beauty about the GCC model is through the evolution, those who came in 20 years ago did it for very different drivers. Many of them ask themselves to say, hey, if we had to set up our GCC today, how different would we look? And truth be told, you'd look very different. So some of the newer ones are taking advantage of what the model and the ecosystem and your vendor base allows you to do and doing it differently. So what we'd like to chat about is in this journey from operation to innovation or cost arbitrage to value arbitrage, tell us a little about the most critical enablers for you in that journey. I'm okay with whoever wants to go first.
So I can go. So for us, the two major enablers are, one, as I briefly alluded to when I was talking the first time, right, is the availability of scientific talent. So our basic science education, and that's what I was trying to say, is while it is tech enabled in that sense, a lot of the work are what doctors do, in terms of designing a study, what statisticians do in designing and analyzing the study, and so on, right? What writers do in writing the reports and so on. So I think that part, the pharmacy graduates, the medical school graduates, the folks that come with a quantitative background, I think that is one huge enabler that we have, right?
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. The other part is that, while the GCCs have come in a little later, we have had that experience with native pharma companies like a Dr. Reddy's and Sun Pharma and so on, right? Who have done very, very similar things, who understand the science, behind developing new drugs and so on. So we get that mix of experience from a slightly different type of industry, and then the talent from people having basic science degrees and quant capabilities. And I think those two things for us have been major enablers.
Correct. So in many ways, Mahesh, you've set up from the start, though you're young, to actually extract value given exactly that, right? So your focus has been value to a large extent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I go? So
Yeah.
in our case, when we started our operations in 1995, like any other, at that time, any other, not now, so any other GCCs, we are unlike, they start these GCC centers to do some kind of support activities, the maintenance activities, some kind of business process activities. We have changed from the day one itself, the whole culture of the GCC when we started it. We said that no, this center is going to help in terms of value creation. So on the day one itself, we have divided certain of the ERP solution modules completely owned completely from Hyderabad. That means we are responsible for building the functions and features, talking directly to the customer, solving customer business problems, and also managing the complete product. So it's a kind of a parallel development activity. We call it as a multi-location development. So two locations developing the same product. We have technology where we can develop together. That's exactly helped us from day one itself change the culture of GCCs are not just for maintenance. GCCs are there to create value. That's exactly helped us today. We build so much of AI features in the product. Our products are so huge, massive ERP solutions, what we built for the industries. And each industry is different. Let me tell you, each industry is completely different. The auto industries runs differently, the aerospace runs differently. So we are building solutions to those micro vertical industries, and the knowledge has been built by the team here. So when we started in 1995, we got a right talent availability. That's one of the great things. Good schools we got. And those are all the guys staying with me. They are all the guys who are building all the code and technology pieces. So I think the first thing what GCC should do that from day one itself, bring that culture of innovation. Bring that culture of value creation rather than just become like a mute maintenance and a support ticket people.
That's awesome to hear because 20 years ago, if you started like that, it really tells, very telling of your approach. But in 20 years, Ranga, I'm sure something has changed and got accelerated. So if you were to look at where you are today, what's that one biggest enabler to unlock value?
Yeah, I think one of the thing very clearly is, I think initial days was, yes, we're working on one product, then multi-product. How you can make your skilled workforce to kind of adapt, quickly change, and work on the new technologies. That's one thing. The second important thing in GCC was that grow your management layers also. That's fundamentally very, very important because most of the GCCs, finally, we don't have a strong management layers here. That also will not represent us properly in driving the GCCs.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. Sheenam?
So I'm going to go back to the statement that you said, right? That most companies are technology companies. Yes, very clearly, right? We are enabled by technology. But the value, Shalini, comes from business,
Yeah.
right? For us, I think we are at that point where we want to develop and foster business acumen as an enabler to grow to the next rung of value for the parent organization, right? So what we are trying to do is really create persona-based learning experiences. So if you've joined us as a fresher, straight from college, to a lateral who's come with, a pure technology background, to a first-time manager, to an aspiring manager, or an aspiring manager to a first-time manager, to an executive. There are different kinds of learning experiences that have been now created, which will enable us to do that. And the outcome is very clear. You want to create business acumen, you want to create roles and associates and leaders who can talk to the customers directly, right? So can you talk to a customer in the language that the customer understands? Can you understand and relate back and say, okay, if this is your problem, this should be your solution? Because the entire world, the industry is shifting from saying, okay, I'll sell you a product, to actually saying I'll sell you a solution, to now saying I'll sell you a service. So how do you migrate that? I think is very, very crucial. And getting your associates to do that is going to be that one enabler.
Very nicely said, because let's not forget, GCCs are an enabler to unlock value across that business value chain.
Yes, talent is the most important thing that we have to focus on as a GCC.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll hear the talent word a few more times. But your quick take
Sure,
on that.
I'll take a slightly different take on the enablement aspect and all. I think there are two key focus areas for us. One is we came together as an organization. We are a very heavy M&A situation kind of an organization. Probably in the last 20 years, we've had at least 5, 7, 8 different M&A activities. So one of the key aspects which I was very clear about when we are setting up this center, there cannot be a legacy, I am legacy X or a legacy Y. This center or this space is going to be having its own culture, and that's what everybody's one Warner Brothers Discovery, WBD. I think that has spurred a lot of thought back home to different spaces that we got to shed a lot of legacy nomenclature and those aspects and start talking as one WBD. So that was one area. I think the second biggest enabler for us was, I think, the ecosystem in Hyderabad. Clearly, when we were coming and we were setting up, we went and visited a lot of organizations sitting out here, and everybody was so welcoming in sharing their experiences, and more so around, hey, don't do this or hire a leader first or X, Y, Z, etc. I mean, I have got comments right from my CFO to my chief accounting officer to everybody saying, you know what, this is the thing which we have only seen in Hyderabad. Anywhere, if this was to be done in the US, unlikely we would have managed to get this kind of a forum together of everybody. So for us, I think a big enabler was the ecosystem here itself. And of course, there's the the state machinery and all those. But I would say the GCC ecosystem was a big enabler for us. Those are the two things I would say from my
And that's what's
Can I
fundamentally
also
changed the model too.
Can I add one more point?
Yeah.
Because one of the enabler for us is also that GCCs has to provide in terms of innovations, right?
Yeah.
So you are showing the innovations to your parent company. That's innovations are happening from here. And more important thing is the productivity. One of the things initial days we used to be hit was, okay, the cost advantage is there, but then you take double the time to do kind of certain innovations. So when you bring it on par with, that's where, kind of advantage of GCC comes in place, because the productivity is same, and that there is a cost advantage, the talent availability is there, and the team is very innovative. They are coming out with innovative solutions. All these things will add up for the growth of GCCs.
No, absolutely. I think some great points. Focus on the business chain. Look at what your customers require. All of you looking at talent as an enabler, the ecosystem as an enabler. I'm curious, a little question on when you talk of enabler, how are you seeing sponsorship from your parent organization? Because that pretty much also sets the tone and pace for the value you can unlock. How do you see sponsorship, the empowerment? Just a very quick response. I'm conscious of time. So.
I think it's immense. I have been in this role for 3 years now,
Yeah.
almost 3. And I haven't had a situation where I've gone with a logical ask and been faced with a no or any kind of dynamics that I need to play around with. The fact that we are 1/3 of the organization sitting in India, I think is a huge testament.
Okay.
And most leaders at a senior level recognize that. There would be issues at a slightly more junior level.
Yeah. Okay.
Job loss is a very big thing for people in the
Okay.
US and abroad. So that's there. You deal with that, and you deal with that with empathy. But I haven't seen a problem with sponsorship.
Okay, cool. That's good to hear. Any different views?
I would just add to whatever. I'll just give 2 anecdotes. Our CFO came here for the inauguration. He asked me a very point blank question. What do you need from me to be successful in this role?
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what? His name's Gunnar, a German. He said, nobody will take this center seriously unless you make sure that the leadership visits this place. So can I suggest you have your next leadership offsite here in Hyderabad?
Yeah.
And this is he and I having a discussion at the time of inauguration, and he brought his entire leadership to Hyderabad within 4 months' time. CIO, again, I told him, listen, nobody will take this seriously unless you have a direct report of yours sitting here in Hyderabad. And he hired one of his direct reports here. So clearly, I think sponsorship goes key. There is nothing which the center can achieve unless you get the right sponsors. I mean, these were the 2 prime examples on our
Super.
side.
And my only reason to bring it up is, again, maybe on behalf of for the audience, because we have seen centers that haven't necessarily gone on the trajectory intended. If you don't have the right sponsorship, you're not empowered adequately, you will begin to stagnate. But thank you for that. Well, we have 12 minutes. I had 2 more questions. So I'm going to request you all for a little bit of a rapid fire, more bullet pointed answers, because I'd love to give our audience a few minutes for their questions or what's on their mind. So this next one, we've spoken about the wonderful opportunity, the trajectory. Let's just talk a little about what are the headwinds that come in your way of actually unlocking value as a GCC. So what is, maybe past experiences could be what you anticipate. What could or what have some of those headwinds been?
I think I'll go with 2. One is more external and a little bit more tactical for me, competition.
Okay.
Right? What we do here, if we don't generate value, there are other geographies that are springing up and work can go there, and that's not a good thing for us. And that's something that we can definitely do. But the second one, I think, is the far more important one. And specifically for a seasoned GCC like ours, is culture. Okay, when you're used to a certain way of working, and when the parent organization wants to change, and you need to adapt to that change, the mindset and the bias that is there in your own head, okay, is, I think, a very big change-resistant lever. So that's something that we have to work on. What can help is, persistence. And in my opinion, what is working for us as we move up that S-curve is continuous learning. Continuous reinvention.
Got it.
Slow, steady, small steps.
In fact, your point on adapting reminded me of a quote that the doctor put up, which spoke of not the strongest or the fittest surviving, but those who can adapt. And actually, the GCC model is truly a story of that, right? How has the model continuously evolved and adapted to align to what global businesses demand, what global macro trends have been, and very rightly
And I
said.
think the snail and rabbit story comes up here.
Yeah, yeah.
You go slow to reach faster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
So in our case, yeah, the headwinds were, if you look at the 25 years of a journey for us, we moved from different styles of management.
Yeah.
We used to be like a Dutch company initially, then became like a British company. We were acquired by a British company, Invensys. Then we moved to a Canadian company, SSA Global, sitting at the same place, okay? And then we became part of Infor, which is a US company.
Yeah.
So if you look at the transition, you moved different management styles. And each one has a different vision and different directions. You need to adapt faster as a GCC organization.
Yeah.
If you don't adapt, you will collapse.
Yeah. Got
We
it.
would not have been what we are today as one of the largest organizations here if we are not adapting. And not only the leadership is adapting in GCC, but also the last consultant in the organization has to adopt.
Got it. Thank you. Yes.
So for us, I think it's a little bit of what got us here is not going to get us there.
Yeah.
So we started with talent, which was great for the kind of work that we have been doing. And this is not we meaning India, but globally. Where we need to go next is involves an extremely high level of deep expertise. And I see that the new talent seems to be a lot more superficial. They are solving for problems that are maybe already solved for, but cheaper or something like that. But they're not really solving the very, very hard problems. And that's where life sciences verticals, pharma needs to go. And I think that for me is one of the biggest challenges. Are we going to get that kind of really superior talent, people solving the hard problems, right? That's number one. The second one is, going back to what Shalini was saying, a little bit of competition, but not just external, outside of India, but also if you go down I like to call it Biotech Street now, which basically is the in-orbit road, right? Yeah. There are 5 major pharma companies, top 10 pharma companies, in walking distance of one another, right? And so essentially what has happened is it's led to a glut of opportunities, and you see people moving around a fair bit. And that moving around is fine, I don't have a problem philosophically with it. What tends to happen is, again, it drops the expertise level down. And I think that for me is the biggest headwind.
You've touched upon some great points. I can't resist, because we ran a survey last year on the top risks that GCCs face. Talent was the number one, and no surprises. Under the talent theme, the top one was quality of talent. To say, for a country that's churning out as many graduates, do we really have the depth and the quality? And I think as an industry, to the earlier points on business focus, business context, one needs to train and bring a lot more of that. And the second piece you touched upon is, we pride ourselves with the number of new GCCs coming in, but each one coming in wants to go set up shop right next to their competitor. When you look at location, where are the others? And that's how you have this. And honestly, that doesn't help the industry cause. So there's stuff we could do at an industry level to further both of those, but great points on headwinds.
And that's why actually focusing on learning, right? Attrition is a key risk for all of us. Focusing on learning and ensuring that people become productive faster than their predecessors were is really key.
Correct.
For all of us.
Absolutely.
So I'll just pick on the one which he said. I think there is more internal competition than external competition, right? If I don't create enough of a value proposition for the people, for the organization in India, Mexico or Poland is going to take over, period. It's pretty simple. Everybody is just waiting for the business. I think on the second side, we are creating the market in the media tech space here in Hyderabad. There's a lot of talent, but the kind of space of international media tech, I think locally in Hyderabad, a lot of local organizations have been used to operating through multiple layers of intermediaries with Hollywood studios, etc. Now, us being present here, we're literally creating a new space where you can come and directly work for us. So clearly on our side, we are saying, how do you attract that part of the talent on our side?
That's awesome. And to your point on competition from other countries, I think clearly India is well aware of the advantage we have today and what it's going to take to sustain it. The fact that under the Prime Minister's Viksit Bharat agenda, GCCs is a pillar, I think says a lot in terms of what it's going to mean in years to come. So we need to sustain that advantage as an industry, and that's certainly going to happen. Well, thank you for those comments. I have one last question. We have a lot of young potential GCCs, maybe, I'm not sure what we have in the audience, but I'm sure we do. But with a new GCC looking to establish in India every 10 days, if you had to give one piece of advice, and all of them looking at value arbitrage, right? Everyone's coming in to say, let's unlock value. One piece of advice, and please keep it brief, what would that one piece of advice to a new GCC coming in be?
We are listening. We are
Take the
so
ownership.
new.
I say that GCCs, young GCCs really has to own it. You have to take the ownership.
Yeah.
I'm telling you again, you have to take the ownership, which means that you need to percolate down into organization, ownership at all levels. Like we call it a CEO in you. Every consultant should behave like a CEO in you and drive the productivity, drive the value creation, so that there's no stoppage for the GCC. There's no stoppage of investing in the GCC.
Okay, thank you. Sheenam?
I would say two things. You should listen to what your parent company wants.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. Understanding what is it that drives their success
Yeah.
and delivering to that is going to be getting you far more growth than anything else. So listening is capability number one. Second is, if you don't agree, say it.
Yeah, yeah, good points, thank you. Yes, Mahesh.
All right, since Jaideep has said we are a new GCC ourselves, I'm not going to give too much.
Let's lean on your wider experience.
Wider
Yeah.
from the past. Right? No, so, you know, the top 10 pharma are already here, I think, you know, or 9 of the top 10 are here. So I'm not so worried about, you know, and they're all already set shop. But I do want to take this opportunity to talk to maybe not the GCCs, but, you know, we have an exhibition booth with a lot of startups and people really trying to provide solutioning to GCCs, right?
Yes.
And I really want to maybe use this to give them a little bit of, you know, what I feel might work better, right?
Sure, yeah.
And that really is depth again. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
today, what tends to happen is everybody wants to solve a problem that's partially being solved with the only advantage in India being cost arbitrage. That won't go very long, right? So we really need to solve for some of the more deep technical problems, right? So if there is an opportunity, I would really ask the startups to really focus on those, because that can really get, you know, it can get them a leg in to the GCCs and then to the larger parent organization as well.
Such a wonderful point you make, because, you know, when we talk of value, and we quite often survey or talk to onshore stakeholders, many of them do get worried when their GCC keeps talking innovation and value, because they're worried about that innovation being a little more short-term and myopic as opposed to lasting impact. So they're not as impressed with innovation that's for that little bit of small time, you know, cycle, crunching the cycle time or some cost saving. And hence, you know, GCCs sometimes, and I've used this in some forum before to say, let's not get labeled with jugadu innovation. Let's be here innovation for the long haul and unlocking value for the long haul. So, and I think a great message for a lot of the startups listening in today. Yes, your advice.
So one of the things advice we got, and I think it's worked very well, and I would add is, I think especially at a parent level, there's a very high tendency to look at lowest hanging fruits. And what that means is looking at your pyramid and start off purely with the bottom of the pyramid roles here. But I think the advice we got and we implemented was, don't just look at that, look at a full sliver, including investing in the leadership upfront, because that's going to be extremely critical from a longer term standpoint. I think that's done us really very well. We have invested in key leadership roles locally, and not just at the base of the pyramid kind of a roles. Second, again, and this is such a beaten to death horse kind of a thing, is invest in people. Very critically important from you know, a global standpoint of assuming this is just another office globally and not some outpost sitting out there. Those are the only aspects I would say.
Thank you. Some great bits of advice from each one of you. Appreciate it. I see our MC has gently walked on stage to remind us we have only 45 seconds. So I'm much as I wanted to, cannot open up the floor for questions because we won't do justice. We'd love to catch up. I'm sure our panelists would love to catch up with you over the next break. But thank you for listening in to us. Thank you to each one of you for sharing your experiences and advice. Thank you again.
Thank you,
you.
Shalini, for the probing questions.
Thanks, Shalini.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shalini.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Shalini. Please remain on stage while I invite Mr. Isaac Rajkumar, MD Real Page and Executive Committee Member HYSEA to felicitate our moderator and the panelists. Can we please have the mementos quickly? The mementos are presented by HYSEA and ICICI Bank. Thank you so much for your time and for such interesting insights. Thank you for the applause. Can we please have a huge round of applause for all the panelists and the moderator? The speakers will be here at the venue, so in case if anybody wants to have a word with them, you all are most welcome. Thank you all. Thank you so much.